You are listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer. References to a child as him or her in this podcast are meant to be gender neutral. Chitra Iyer is a parent of a 21-year-old Shravan Iyer who has epilepsy, cerebral palsy and autism. She is the CEO of MFA and has been helping families with life-centered planning to reach their personal financial goals. She is also a trustee of a parent support group, the Forum for Autism, which was set up almost 2 decades ago. MFA is a 15-year-old wealth management company which has set up a special practice to help in the planning for families of children with disabilities. The thoughts shared here are a result of discussions with parents, caregivers, siblings, and professionals regarding the planning of a person with special needs. This podcast in this series, the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer, addresses how to create a legal structure that will secure your child in your absence. It covers the most important legal documents that you need to make to secure your child's financial future.
Hello everyone. I have a dear friend with me today, Shreya Jain. Shreya is a sibling of a young man with autism and the founder of Reservoir. Shreya and me have been conducting webinars and workshops for families of special needs children. One of the key service offerings from Reservoir is creating future security solutions for families with individuals with special needs. As part of her platform, she has been trying to improve accessibility to resources for the neurodiverse community. And she also runs several awareness campaigns. It has been very interesting reaching out to families, trying to understand what is topmost in their mind when it comes to them thinking about the future security of the children. And trying to explain to them that they may be thinking it all wrong and to advise them about what exactly is the right way of going about doing this. So welcome to this podcast, which will address how to create a legal structure that supports your child in your absence. Welcome, Shreya. So great to have you on my podcast.
Thank you, Chitra, and thank you for starting this podcast. I've had the privilege and pleasure of listening to your previous episodes, and they're absolutely beautiful. I think I'm excited about this podcast because we've learned so many new things in our previous workshops, and I want to condense and nichoro all of that information and put it out here because it'll become accessible to so many more parents whenever they'd like.
Absolutely. That's the whole intention that, if anybody thinks about what is it that I need to do legally and they're so confused about it, they just need to listen to this and, understand all the nuances as well as figure out what exactly is right for them.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, everybody wants to figure out what their top priority is. And more or less, it's always that how does their child have not just how he remains secure, he or she remains secure, but how he or she can have the same lifestyle that they have right now. How can the parents provide for them the same way in their absence?
True, because the biggest worry always is what after me. Mm-hmm. That can just be worry and, can get compounded. But if we are able to offer solutions and tell people exactly that, keep the worry aside and get started. And this is the way, this is the step-by-step way of going about doing all that is needed to be done, then that gives you that sense of complete comfort and feeling that, yes, I'm sorted and I've done everything that's required for my child. For every parent, I always request them that, it is quite easy to procrastinate and keep saying that, I'll do it at some time in the future. But it's actually very important to do it right now. Get started. These things take time. The whole process of even discussing this internally in a family takes time.
Absolutely.
And, I have my own situation where I came to you and I requested you for help with all the documentation that I need for Shravan. And the way you and Shan guided me was amazing because you actually put us at ease to when you shared with us that these are the things that need to be done, and this is the way to go about it. And of course, you came with your experience of so many families that you have dealt with, and you bring that to the table.
You know, I think what's exciting for Shan and me as a team is that every family, even though we put them under the bucket umbrella of special needs, is so different than each other. Their accommodations that the child might need are different. Their family structure is different. So when they come to us, I think our primary focus first is to understand what will work for them as a unit, right? And like you said, this process can go on for months because everybody might not be on the same page. But I also think that at the end of this, when you're finally done, so many parents have come and told me that it's so liberating. You know, they finally have that freedom कि हमने कर लिया. It's such a big fear कि और वो process में नहीं आपको मालूम पड़ता. But when you're finally done and you're on the other side, फिर आप सोचते हो that, you know, you've been able to achieve
very,
that.
Very true. I'm coming from personal experience. And Shreya, my first question coming to you is that, is it really so complicated? You know, everyone has this fear that I can't understand this, and will I be able to understand, you know, how do I get down to doing this entire succession planning exercise for my child with special needs? Usually people, all the families with the child could have any disability, but they do know in the back of their minds that they need to do this. But then it always comes out in different ways, I feel. So what are the usual questions that people come up to you with?
I think you've experienced this firsthand. You were procrastinating and scared, and we'd had several conversations before you actually got started. And I think that's fair, right? It's a very big question that needs to be answered. It's a very big task that sort of needs to be done. So complex hai, but complex nahi bhi hai, right? Like, you don't want to understand कि गाड़ी का engine कैसे function करता है. You don't know what happens under that bonnet. What you do know is how to drive that stick. You know the primary functions की how do you drive that car safely. Similarly, like जब आप doctor के पास जाते हो, you don't give them what surgery needs to be done or how the surgery needs to be done. What you go with the problem, and then you want a certain outcome, which is wellness of that patient.
Absolutely. In fact, like you mentioned in the just a while back, even in finance, you know, when people come to me and tell me exactly what do I do and how do I go about it, and they start asking, do I invest this into this product or into the other one?
I'm sure.
Then it's the same logic where I say that, you know, you leave that to the end, and that's where a specialist comes in and tells you exactly what is right for you. But first is the process itself, where, you know, there are certain steps that you need to take and help in, you know, in you understanding why you're doing a particular thing.
No, absolutely. And I have attended your workshops before we started working together also. So I know how you break down the process of investing money into the simplest format in a way where it becomes so palatable. Everybody understands what you're talking about. It's so relatable. And I think that's the job of a good professional. So we try and do the same thing. When I'm talking to a client, I don't think I use any jargon in the first meeting, which can go both ways. उन्हें लगता है कि ये हमको सब कुछ पहले से पता था, you know. But in that moment, what I want to do really is ease them into the process. They need to know कि वो actual practicality में कर क्या रहे हैं. How will this work when the time comes? Once that is done, it's my job as a professional to make that happen in a legal format and structure it legally.
Absolutely. So, you know, coming to our topic for today is, you know, what would you say a family should do first? Should they be making their wills, or should they drop a trust? What is the difference? Is it absolutely necessary for everyone to make a trust, or, you know, as well as their wills? How do you go about it?
So, you know, that's interesting, Chitra. I think there is no one right approach, but I'll share what my personal opinion is. I think it's very important for everyone to have a trust. Given that there are some resources or some assets or something that you want to pass on to your child. If you have some savings, which I think everybody does in India, हम बच्चा होने से पहले बच्चे के लिए save करने लगते हैं, right? It's something that's a part of our plan from the very beginning.
Right.
So I think trust becomes very important in that sense. And a will, even though it's the natural thought process कि will लिख दिया तो काफ़ी है, it's not enough. And I'll tell you why, right? Will क्या करता है? Will basically says who is the rightful heir of that money. And when, let's say somebody passes away, the rightful heir or the person who's to receive it next needs to stand up and take it for themselves. A person who's differently abled, has special needs, may not be able to stand up for themselves and may not be able to receive it. Trust क्या करता है? A trust ensures that that person receives his rightful share. And I think this is the importance of a trust. I'm sure in this conversation I'll give you multiple examples which will help you understand better and better कि trust की importance क्या है.
So, digging a little deeper, so you said clearly that a trust is imperative. It is absolutely important. So then when a family comes to you, what are you telling them to do first in terms of a trust?
So I think पहले हम trust का structure समझ लेते हैं एक बार. I think then this conversation will become easier, right? So think about it like this. In a trust, physically क्या होता है? You're basically putting down some money, some assets, some resources that will continue to benefit your child in your absence.
True.
Okay. Now, structurally it works like this. Imagine that there are 4 key parties to this process. The first one being the settlers. Now, what is the settler? Who are the settlers? Settlers are the parents or the guardians who are putting in the settlement. The word comes from there. They're also interchangeably known as the authors of the trust. Now, they're known as the authors because the document that is written legally is called the trust deed. Now, the authors are the people who are setting the rules and regulations. What are the roles and responsibilities? How will this function? Because they are authoring the deed, they are guiding the deed, they are known as the authors. Now, second in line comes the person for whose benefit this is being set up. And that person is the beneficiary or the child with special needs.
Right.
Now, the beneficiary here may not be able to protect his interests fully, right? Which is why the trust is being set up. So here what you then do is introduce party number 3, which are people you will trust to take care of these responsibilities in the future.
Right.
And these people are known as the trustees. Now, the most common mistake before I go to point number 4 is that the parents often want to become the trustees themselves.
Yes.
Right? Unko lagta hai that trustees are the people who are going to be managing this, so they should become the trustees. What they don't realize is that as the settler or as the author of the trust, legally they can structure this in a way where they retain the ultimate control or the ultimate authority. And the trustees are simply following the direction.
True.
So they are achieving nothing by becoming the trustee. And the fourth party in this entire setup is the board of advisors. Now, this is important because there are people in your surroundings, in your environment, that play very important roles in the life of your child, in your lives, but may not be ready to take up legal responsibility for the matter, or may not be eligible. Matlab ho sakta hai they live in another country. So they may not be eligible to legally become a part of the trust. So in this case, because you want them to be a part of the process, you appoint them as an advisor. So the settlers and the trustees can always fall back on these people for their advice.
Super. Just like you advised, in our case, where Shravan's nieces are both citizens of another country and they cannot be trustees. But therefore, we actually have my brother and our friends, one who's a very dear friend of mine and one who is our dear friend who is Shravan's therapist as the trustees. Whereas we both, like you explained, we are the settlers, the beneficiary is Shravan, and therefore the nieces are the board of advisors through whom we run every single decision that we are taking for Shravan today. Basically, we are setting the process in flow now when we are alive. That for every decision that we're taking today, we let them know that we're doing this. And therefore, the Board of Trustees, both the nieces are already aware that yes, what is happening in terms monetarily for him or medically for him or taking, life decisions in terms of whether we should homeschool him or we should send him to a vocational center. All of these, while the whole thought is from me, my husband Ravi and me, but the board of advisors, that is our nieces, are completely in sync about what's happening for Shravan, and then the trustees are also aware of what is happening, so they know that this is how things are being decided for Shravan, so that in the future, when both Ravi and me, both of us are not there, is the trustees who would take this call along with the board of advisors.
Absolutely. And Chitra, I want to congratulate you for actually coming through and doing this with everybody, involving everybody in the process. And I think it's so important because imagine अगर parents को डर कितना लग रहा है, right? आप सोचो, आप लोग तो ये हर रोज करते हो, आपको फिर भी डर लगता है. Your trustees, your board of advisors, they have much less experience with this.
True.
Right? So, unko prepare karna is also your responsibility. You have to give them enough time to settle in the process. And the way you put this offer them this responsibility is also very important. अगर आप बहुत बार कहते हैं कि अभी ट्रस्ट सेटअप करने की क्या ज़रूरत है, what you're basically doing is कि हाँ ठीक है, हमारे बाद ट्रस्टीज का रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बन जाएगा, वो देखेंगे कैसे करना है.
Yeah, and that is one of the most stupidest things to do, right? Because when you're alive, you know how difficult it is to take decisions for your child, and you're trying to tell that somebody is going to do it on their own after us. I mean, it's extremely foolish. I'm sure you've seen such families where, things have gone completely awry.
I mean, I've heard of nightmarish, dreadful stories, Chitra. Like when people have come to me in situations where there is absolutely no direction, and ऐसा नहीं है कि resources नहीं हैं या कम resources हैं. Because lack of direction hai, it's gone completely haywire. And it is the parents' responsibility to direct, guide, help the future trustees to take on this responsibility. That's very important.
So, for example, during COVID, there were some people who reached out to me. I mean, especially these were from Shravan's ex-school, the trustees who reached out and said there's a family where the father and the mother both passed away to COVID and they have not informed the child. And they were reaching out to me to ask me what are now the legal documents that need to be done.
So see, I mean, I know of so many stories where the parents have passed away without leaving any direction. And I think then basically what you're doing is you're leaving this on the goodwill of people around your child. Right now, it's how nice the people around that child are. वो उसको कितना देंगे, कितना उसके लिए करेंगे. अब आपने पूरा उस पे छोड़ दिया है. Because now there is nothing under the purview of the law. So even let's say organizations like Forum for Autism or even Reservoir, where we could have stepped in to protect the legal rights of the child, now you've basically not given him any legal rights.
Yeah, and coming from where I have heard parents say, मैम मैंने मेरे भाई को ट्रस्टी बना दिया तो वो क्या गारंटी है कि वो पैसा खुद के लिए नहीं ले लेगा. When you're coming from something like this where you're alive, to not doing this and not appointing the right trustees to see this when you're alive, how can you even think about pushing this and delaying this to leave it to somebody else to do it on your behalf for your child? I think that's very, very wrong. Yeah. And I have been encouraging people and I've been urging families, parents especially, those who have listened to me earlier also, about how it's very important to start discussions. First of all, people don't talk to each other. That is the husband and wife. First, please start talking between, when you talk to each other, you're able to express what do you feel about the people in your life and those who you feel are trustworthy for your child. That is the process that has to be done before you reach out to people like Shreya. You have to talk internally in the family. First the husband and the wife, then you talk to the sibling of the child, then you go on to the other people who are involved. They could be your brothers and sisters, they could be your parents, they could be friends who are really amazing with your child. And that's how you start this entire process of identifying who are going to be your trustees, the way Shreya explained. Shreya, moving on to wills. Why therefore is it necessary to make a will and what should be there in the will?
I think will is just one of those documents that is easily recognized without any boundaries. So also because I'm assuming that there might be other people who have to receive some of your resources, some of your savings, and it's not only your child with special needs.
Absolutely.
So in that case, a will becomes really important, right? Because you don't want to mix up the two things. आपको बहुत clear boundaries set करने हैं. What is it that you set aside for your child with special needs and what is it for your other family members.
Right.
So that distinction becomes very, very clear through the will. Even let's say you're to receive something. For example, आप और रवि का example लें अगर, what if something happens to either of you before the other person? तो उस केस में जो आपकी holdings हैं, interim में उसका क्या होता है?
Right.
Does that go to Ravi before going to Shravan and vice versa?
Yeah.
So all of these small things, what is the entire flow?
Yes.
And even after Shravan, what is to be done?
Right.
Under what cases, does the trust get shut? Like, so many things that will map out the course of things can be done through the will.
Right. So, as you have guided us to make our wills, just to share our own story, after me, everything goes to Ravi and then it goes to Shravan's trust. Similarly, after Ravi, everything goes to me and then it goes to Shravan's trust. That's what we have written. Like you rightly said, we have also written what all happens in case any trustee is not going to function, then even that gets covered. Or maybe about guardians. So we're going to go to that as the next most important document that you always say parents need to make. So what are the other crucial documents according to you, Shreya, that needs to be made for a child with special needs?
So I think now that we're on the topic of legal guardianship, I'll start from there. I can't emphasize enough on how important it is to get legal guardianship for your children. And for those of you who are wondering why it's important for you to get a legal document or a legal guardianship for your child when they're a biological child, आप ऐसा सोचिए that for a neurotypical child या a child without disabilities or a normal child, when they become 18 years of age, you can't take decisions on their behalf. You can't sign on their behalf. You can't take financial, medical, legal decisions for them. But similarly, if you want to continue taking these decisions, which I'm assuming you do, for your child with special needs, then you have to have a proof of law, which is the legal guardianship. Now, not only does this allow you to protect your child's interests, it also prevents from any confusion that might arise tomorrow, right? Let's say if there is a case of financial fraud with a resource that is in your child's name, then you can step up rightfully as the legal guardian for your child and step up in that case. Even in other cases, right? I think legal guardianship में आपने और मैंने कितनी बार ऐसे medical instances imagine किए हैं where somebody needs to take a stand for them legally.
Yes.
And the parents are the only people who can make these decisions.
We've even come across some instances in Forum for Autism where, accidentally a huge a plant was dropped from a very high floor onto the, ground. And this was dropped by a special needs child. And there was a police case, right? So you need to talk on behalf of your child, even at the police station. And when you're trying to tell them that, listen, my child has a special needs, has a disability, they're going to, legally, you're also supposed to have the guardianship certificate in place to talk on your child's behalf.
I think it automatically makes your authority on the matter very clear. For example, somebody called me in the lockdown and said that somebody in their family who's a child with special needs lives in in a different house, and they did not. The police, the society wasn't allowing them to meet that person because of COVID risk.
Oh, okay.
So it was very difficult for them to give them proof of why they had to go and why they were the right people to go to meet that child. So in such cases, I just think that having a legal document just becomes really, really simple.
Absolutely. Moving on to the other most crucial one, which a lot of people, I really am amazed that they're not aware of. See, you get a diagnosis, right? When your child is young, or maybe the diagnosis happens much later. But then there is a certificate that is issued by an authority, which is the medical doctor who is seeing your child, or it's by the hospital. So can you please explain why is it important? You always, share that you need to get a UDID in place. So what is a UDID and how does a parent go about getting this?
Right. So a UDID card is a unique disability identity card. Now, the first and the most important thing to know about this card is that it's a central government issued card. So आप समझिए that जितना important आपका आधार है, उतना ही important a UDID card is for a person with a disability. It's not a replacement of the Aadhaar card. It's very important to remember that. It's an additional card that you need to have.
Right. It's also called the Swavlamban card, right?
Yes. And the website is called swavlambancard.gov.in. I'm sure, Chitra, जब आपने start किया था ये process for Shravan, and I remember when we were doing this for my brother, उस टाइम हम disability certificate के लिए apply करते थे. But I've seen that slowly the government is doing a transition where instead of a disability certificate, now you can directly apply for a UDID card. In fact, अगर आपके पास disability certificate है भी, तब भी you can apply for a UDID card, and you can do that online. The process is simple but long, like is any other government process. Right? So अगर आप swavlambancard.gov.in पे जाएंगे, you will be able to find the form that you need to fill out. So if you don't have a disability certificate, then you probably need to go to the hospital that's assigned to you to get your testing done. But if you have a disability certificate, you can get it directly via just filling that form.
Great. Apart from this, Shreya, when I talk to families, I always request them to make a file for their child. That is, keep all the documents relating about the child in one place with all the medical certificates, all the prescriptions. Any important medical information for your child needs to be preserved in one file. This is where you can also keep the UDID card, the legal guardianship certificate. Of course, for making the trust as well as wills, you need to have another file which people are aware. So, Shreya, where do you think people should keep their trust and their wills?
That's a very interesting question. This is the question we get asked very often कि किधर रखते किधर हैं. So I'll tell you, trust becomes very simple because जब आप बैंक अकाउंट खोलते हो तो आप उसकी ट्रस्ट डीड एक बैंक को ज़रूर देते हो. Apart from that, I think everybody should have a signed copy. All the trustees, all the board of advisors should have a copy on them. Now we're in a digital world. You can simply digitalize the copy. You can even go to the extent of making it password protected and keeping it on your computer, keeping it on your drive is, in my mind, the simplest way.
Absolutely. So, while the will can be kept in the locker,
the only person who needs to know really where your will is the executor, right? So as long as that person knows, nobody else really needs to know. And it's important that आप उनको बताकर जाएं that there is a will.
yes.
Some people should know, because ऐसा नहीं तो होता है that after that, if there is no clarity,
People start searching where is the will.
and if they don't know where is the will, है भी कि नहीं है is the question, right? Usually it's such a secretive thing in India. In our mind, the minute we think of a will, it's like associating it with our death. कि अब तो मरने ही वाले हैं, इसलिए will लिख रहे हैं, right? Which I think is थोड़ा old school thought, which I think is slowly changing also.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, because even when I'm talking to special needs families today, and before I go anywhere near talking about their finances, and we're talking about all these documents that need to be made and kept in place first, the whole thing of, अच्छा हमें will बनाना है, क्यों बनाना है? And the whole urgency of the situation of you being a parent of a special needs child, only you know that. Suppose something would happen to you tomorrow, you have to have this in your mind, telling you that yes, I've done everything right and I've done whatever needed to be done legally, so that all the monies that I'm keeping aside for him, he will actually get it. So, be it making the trust, like you said, is even more important than making the wills. And making the wills, all of this is like super urgent and needs to be done.
मुझे तो लगता है it needs to be done on a yesterday basis, right?
Yeah.
If you're asking me when should you do it, you're already late.
Absolutely.
And I can't emphasize this enough, because आप जितना जल्दी ये process start करेंगे, उतना you will be able to test it out, right? You will be able to, while you're there, you can make all the necessary changes in this structure, but nobody after you has any power to change it. तो आप जितना जल्दी start करोगे, उतने checks and balances you can put into place. I think you raised this point earlier that somebody asked, what if the trustee only takes all my money? Right? And that's a very legitimate fear. आप कैसे किसी को blindly trust कर सकते हैं? But it's important that you ask your professional that. You ask your legal team to advise you on that. And you can have an annual audit. You can have a biannual audit, which walks you through all the expenditures that have been made Or aap as settlers, it's your responsibility to set up this process in place. So that after you, the trustees have to keep following it. It's in the habit. So the way you lead this process, the trustees will follow it in the same way. So you have to set the right expectation from how the trustee needs to manage this money, how the trustee needs to manage this process.
Absolutely, which is why very clear that it needs to be done, should have been done as of yesterday, and please get going with it right away so that you are able to guide your trustees on how you want it to happen.
And I think one last thing that I want to say, you were saying that sometimes you need to figure out who you need to involve in your trust. And I think sometimes it's okay if you don't know. Because आपको पता है क्या होता है, हम कभी-कभी इस सवाल में ही उलझ जाते हैं otherwise. So when a family comes to me, and a lot of times single parents come to me, right? And आप मानोगे नहीं that in the beginning they feel that there is nobody. Or sometimes the obvious choice is not the most obvious choice by the end of our conversation. So we can also help you identify some of what are your family's key strengths, and basis that we might be able to guide you on who is the best person to become the trustee, who is the best person to become the managing trustee of those people. Right? Managing trustee is somebody who has the ultimate say if you want them to have that. So I think the process unfolds in itself because see, log to aapke aaspaas se hi niklenge unless you're thinking of choosing a professional trustee, which becomes expensive but obviously is an option that you can consider. So like I said, you have to find a solution, and the solution is around you. So the faster you get working on that, the faster you will come up with a solution.
True. So Shreya, you said so many things. There are a lot of terminologies that are involved here legally. Maybe we've not covered all of them here, but the whole objective of this podcast was just get going in terms of how legal structures can be set up and introducing the topic. One of the most important ones, which I think we should be talking about before we end, is the letter of intent or the letter of wishes. So there's this whole I don't think people know about this at all, and what is your thought on this, and how do you guide people to go about preparing this?
I think it's one of the most important documents because, like I said, you don't want your child to just be safe after you. You want them to have the same lifestyle, you want them to have the same luxuries, the same comfort that you've provided for them. And sometimes, because the child may not be able to communicate all of these things him or herself, it's important that you write them down. And this is just a document that supports the trust and the will. It's obviously not a replacement. And it's not a legal document, so to say, but I think it's equally important.
So what exactly is an LOI?
So I think I want to throw back that question to you because I think you have one of the most thorough letter of intents that I've ever seen. You're the only client who's ever come to me with an LOI in place already. Usually most of the people don't know, like you said. A letter of wishes are just guidelines, thought processes that you would want someone to do for your child while they're taking care of them. So something as simple as what their interests, what their likes and dislikes are, to something more important like what medical information, what medical accommodations your child might need. Everything goes into that piece of document. A simple thing that I advise people can do is that they can have a page on a day in the life of your child and a week in the life of your child, and then a broader a year in the life of your child document, right? And you can of course change this frequency on your own, but basically help the person understand what is it that they're expected to do for your child when they have to step up to the task.
Absolutely, Shreya. Like you rightly said, we went through multiple workshops that were arranged by Forum for Autism on life-centered planning for our son Shravan. That's where we got started with this, and it absolutely helped us with the letter of intent to be made for him. Of course, we covered everything about his likes, dislikes, family members who are involved, the friends, all the friends who know about him, our first circle of people, second circle of people around him, people whom we trust, people who are caregivers for our child, during our absence. Also, we have gone into great detail about writing down his strengths and weaknesses,
Absolutely.
about the entire support system for him. Who are his therapists? Who is his doctor? Who are the various doctors? Because he has cerebral palsy and autism and epilepsy. So we have different people, different doctors whom we need to consult for each issue. And also, like I said, where it's a medical issue, we want to relate that back and talk that back to our niece, and also let her know what is happening, because she's sitting on the board of advisors and she's a doctor who's involved in his life. So we've tied it up there. And this kind of detailed planning helps in a person understanding your child completely. So just imagine that you were not there tomorrow, and a person picks up this document and gets to know everything about your child. That is the way you need to write it. Right from writing that Shravan cannot tolerate a full sleeves shirt to a collar on his shirt. Even that is written. Because you don't want him to face any kind of struggle, because that person doesn't understand or know him. So right from quality of food, what he likes, he dislikes. What does he, like you have spelled out that he needs to go out on a vacation yearly to some place. And how does that need to happen? You need to write out all that. That's what a letter of intent helps you doing. It can be a long document. It can be however long you want it to be, and you can keep editing it for the rest of your life.
And updating it more than anything else.
Yeah, because when you're not there, you want that person to pick it up. That person could be the guardian in your place. That person could be the trustees who are going to take decisions for him. That person could be the board of advisors. They need to read this. They need to refer to it to know what is it that I should be doing that his parents would have otherwise done for him.
Absolutely.
So, I guess, Shreya, today we have touched upon all the documents that we feel are absolutely necessary for a family of a child with disability. You covered the UDID as being one of the primary documents in terms of getting the disability certificate that can be shown everywhere in the country.
Absolutely.
Then you covered in detail about the legal guardianship certificate as to why it is necessary for anybody who turns 18 and how a parent needs to get the legal guardianship for themselves first. As in they have to appoint themselves as legal guardians to the child. Then we covered in detail about trusts, and then about making the wills, and finally the letter of intent.
Perfect.
So thank you so much, Shreya. This was extremely informative, and I hope everyone who's listening in also felt the same. We are very happy if you can please share your feedback on this podcast, and also write to us with any questions that you would like to hear more about. Shreya is available, so am I, for any questions from anybody who is listening to this podcast. Thanks a ton, Shreya, for making this so informative and sharing all your experiences with various families. And like you said, we managed to crunch it and present it in this podcast. Thanks a ton for your time.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
You were listening to the Special Needs Children podcast with Chitra Iyer, the CEO of MFA and a trustee with the Forum for Autism. If you find this podcast relevant and interesting, it will be great if you leave a review, share, like, and subscribe. You could also let us know if there is any specific topic that you would like us to cover. Feel free to email her on chitra.iyer@myfinad.com, or you can call her on 9833 785 892. That is 9833 785 892.